On a pale autumn afternoon, two sisters rode into Alderwood Glen, a park nestled on the forgotten edge of Marrow Creek, Oregon, and vanished before anyone knew they were gone. No scuffle, no shouts, only a pair of sneakers, one pink and one yellow, abandoned near a mossy footbridge, as if the girls had simply stepped out of them and drifted away. What happened that Sunday wasn't wild chaos, but methodical, noiseless, almost ceremonial. It was October 6th, 2014, a date that would leave a scar in a town of only 900 people. Marrow Creek was the sort of place where neighbors baked pies for each other, and the most pressing news was the returning flock of swans by the lakeshore. Its main street stretched just 3 blocks, hosting a crumbling pharmacy, a barber who doubled as the mayor, and a hardware store that still sold jawbreakers from a glass jar. The kind of town where everyone believed nothing truly bad could happen, as if kindness alone kept old tragedies at bay. Alderwood Glen, the town's pride, sprawled between a glimmering creek and a tangled wood, overshadowed by ancient alders and ghostly white aspens. On weekends, families gathered for quiet barbecues, old couples took slow walks along the willow-shaded paths, and in autumn, children played leaf pile games near the eastern meadow. It was the safe heart of Marrow Creek, comfortable, familiar, innocent. Shadows here belonged only to trees. That Sunday, the younger Greer sisters, Isabel, age 9, and Olive, 7, begged their father to let them set out early. Isabel was earnest, a quiet observer with bright eyes always on the sky, clutching her dog-eared book of birds and notes on cloud shapes. Olive was restless, her cheeks scattered with sun freckles, clutching a battered sketch pad and a handful of chalks. They were inseparable, two halves of curiosity, fueled by dreams of buried treasure and secret worlds beneath alder roots. Their father, Michael Greer, watched from the porch, patching a hole in the screen door, as the girls assembled an expedition: peanut butter wraps, apples, and a chipped thermos of lemonade. Their laughter, sharp, light, unburdened, floated through the air, mixing with the gentle hush of autumn wind and distant spray of raked leaves. "Back by sundown," he called, as they tumbled onto their bikes, Isabel's with faded flowers, Olive's with bent training wheels. He watched them glide away, sunlight flickering on silver spokes, until the path vanished behind a golden haze of falling leaves. By mid-afternoon, Alderwood Glen buzzed with the quiet hum of families preparing for the long winter ahead. Dogs chased each other across the cricket field. An elderly couple read stories beneath the oaks, and from the barbecue pit drifted the scent of baked apples and cinnamon. Isabel and Olive joined a small group by the creek, skipping stones and laughing as dragonflies darted in spirals above the reeds. Isabel crouched on a rock, intently watching the shimmer of minnows in the shallow water. Olive, giggling, tried to capture the scene with clumsy chalk sketches on the inside covers of her sketch pad. As the sun slid lower, their father came to check on them, waving from the far edge of the meadow. The girls waved back, calling, "We're just looking for acorns." Satisfied, Michael turned to help a neighbor fix a stubborn garden gate. It was only when the breeze carried the sudden hush of evening that he realized how quiet the park had grown. Families packed up their blankets, the air thick with the first bite of autumn dusk. Michael glanced at the time, expecting to hear the girls tearing through leaves back toward him. But the laughing voices didn't return. He walked over to the old footbridge, calling their names, at first gently, then with a touch of worry. He found the pink sneakers neatly side by side on the mossy planks. The yellow shoes teetered at the edge, one laces almost unraveled into the creek. Next to them, Olive's sketch pad lay open, a chalk drawing of 2 girls holding hands beneath a giant tree. Alongside was Isabel's birding notebook, a pressed maple leaf marking the last page. For a frozen moment, Michael stood motionless, his mind refusing to make sense of what he saw. The silence pressed in, heavy and absolute. No footprints, no drag marks in the mud, no sign of splashing, just 2 pairs of empty shoes, a scattering of chalk dust, and a tremor in the world's fabric. He shouted again, louder this time. Others looked up. A runner on the trail hurried over, and soon, word spread. The Greer sisters were missing. Someone dialed 911. As darkness crept across Alderwood Glen, the certainty of safety in Marrow Creek began to unravel, like a thread being pulled from an old, familiar sweater. That night, as the searchlight swept across the creeks and through the fog-laced woods, Michael stood at the edge of the park, clutching his daughter's shoes, refusing to let go. The only sound was the slow hush of wind moving through the alders. By sunrise the next morning, Marrow Creek was unrecognizable. Police tape fluttered like warning flags around Alderwood Glen. Volunteers arrived by the dozens, neighbors, teachers, the high school basketball team, all forming search lines that swept through thickets, overgrown meadows, and along the banks of the winding creek. State troopers brought bloodhounds from 3 counties. As the morning wore on, news vans rolled down Main Street, their antennae glinting in the weak light, reporters whispering words like abduction with cautious, grave voices. Olive's faded backpack was discovered at the forest's edge, beside a tangle of elderberry bushes. Inside, a feather, 2 broken pencils, a half-eaten apple, and a carefully folded paper star. The search dogs picked up a faint trail, looping through tangled brush toward the far end of the park, disappearing near a clutch of ancient stones, lichen-covered, and leaning as if pressed by centuries. There, Park Ranger Dana Schultz spotted something odd. A ring of white stones, unnaturally arranged in a perfect circle. At the very center lay a single black feather, standing upright, as if intentionally placed. The bloodhound circled the formation, then fell strangely silent, whining and backing away. Rumors spread quickly. Some said the circle was the work of teenagers. Others whispered about old stories, local folklore, the Alderwood offering, an ancient superstition about leaving gifts for the forest to ensure safe passage. By dusk, exhaustion and fear shadowed every face. Michael Greer, refusing to leave the scene, was joined by a retired detective, Nora Vance, who had seen her share of disappearances in rural Oregon. She quietly examined the circle and questioned the rangers about its presence, her frown deepening. That night, a heavy mist unspooled through the trees. A cluster of volunteers remained, searching with lanterns and calling the sisters' names into the gray air. But Alderwood Glen yielded nothing, its mysteries buried deeper with the coming cold. The next morning, a line of children's shoes appeared along the park fence offerings, left by grieving families and hopeful strangers, each one a silent prayer for Isabel and Olive's safe return. Days turned into weeks. The search expanded beyond Alderwood Glen, into tangled ravines and abandoned log roads. Drones buzzed overhead. Divers explored muddy irrigation ponds. Helicopters circled, clattering a hollow rhythm above the ancient timber. The army of volunteers slowly dwindled, replaced by grim-faced professionals with checklists and radios. Detective Nora Vance made her headquarters in the community center, papering its walls with maps and lists. Every sighting, every phone call, every set of footprints or snapped twig. But the case stubbornly refused to unfold. No ransom note, no sign of a struggle, only whispers from elderly residents about the DeWitt children, twins who went missing in 1973, and the 3 girls lost in '89, their cases still cold, their faces faded on aging flyers. Over and over, Nora returned to the circle of stones and the black feather. Experts analyzed the geometry, finding no mundane explanation for how the rocks had been scoured so white. On the fourth day, a forensics technician noticed something overlooked, a faint set of prints in the deep soil just past the circle. Small, barefoot, and beside them, a larger shoe print, the tread pattern unusual and old-fashioned. Someone or something had led the girls away. That night, as Nora pored over witness interviews, she found a note from Dana Schultz. Saw an old man by the creek 2 days before. Long gray coat, wide brim hat, watching the kids but never came near. Didn't look like a local. Nora circled the words. In Marrow Creek, every stranger was noticed. She pulled out a stack of missing persons reports, seeking patterns. The folklore nagged at her. The Alderwood offering a story about a spirit known as the Caretaker, appearing only when lost children wandered too far from home. Late at night, the park was shrouded in spectral fog. Nora and a handful of deputies returned to the stone circle. She knelt by the black feather and, almost without thinking, pressed her hand to the cold earth. In the hush, she heard it, a low, distant ringing, like a voice echoing through deep water. She rose quickly, heart pounding. Most called it nerves. Others believed the woods would never give back what they took. Months after the Greer sisters vanished, Isabel reappeared, barefoot and silent, whispering, "Olive's still there, by the tree." Days later, Olive was found alive by the roots of a lightning-struck alder, saying only, "The circle's closed now. He's gone." Back home, the sisters clung to each other, haunted by memories of the Caretaker and the stone circle. Each autumn, 2 pairs of tiny shoes appear by the park bridge, a quiet sign that some echoes and some mysteries never fade.